to Scott Davies. There is to be late drama.
And when you talk about those managers and you talk about Gary Waddock and Martin Court, were you ever surprised that they never managed to get able to a sort of a championship level at any stage? When you talk about the camaraderie that they had and their philosophy and everything, and you know, they've had good careers in football, but not that opportunity at a League One club that would have had sufficient opportunities to push on, or a championship or anything like that.
I think the difficulty is that I think you've got a lot of managers now that are dropping out of, or a lot of ex-players dropping out of the game, like your Steven Gerrard, your Frank Lampards, that automatically go in at the top. You very, very rarely see someone work their way up now. And I think that's where, if you're an English manager, a young English manager now, you've got to try and aspire to be the best you can be. But within limits, I think the limit now for most managers has got to be League One, League Two. Try and aim for those sort of clubs, because it's so tough. It's so difficult. Big clubs are getting managers from all over the world. I think Gary and Martin was obviously a tricky one, where they departed ways when they were at Wycombe, and I was glad to see it, because it's almost like a friendship as well as a joint manager, as well as a managerial combination that obviously split. And I just thought, from what I know, from what I've experienced, they need to be together because they were that good for one another. I know they still talk now. I know they still stay in touch because I speak to the pair of them. But yeah, it does surprise me. But the difficult thing is you have what you have at Aldershot, and the success that we had, to then go to Wycombe and try and do that and emulate it. You're working with a whole new squad of players. So it's very, very tricky. It's very tough. I personally would have liked them to see them stay at Aldershot longer. You see some of the managers now that sort of stay there, like your Eddie Howe's at Bournemouth, and you see them work their way up the league. And I think they could have emulated that if I was to look at sort of a template and how Bournemouth went up the leagues. I think Aldershot would have been capable of that with them in charge.
And one thing we haven't touched on yet is you did return to Aldershot for a third loan spell under Dean Holdsworth.
Yeah, I did. I can't say I enjoyed it too much. That's just me being honest. It wasn't about Dean or anything like that, but I just felt it was really, really unprofessional. And that's my honest opinion. From training under Gary and Martin to training then, it all just seemed a bit of a joke. There was a lot of lads, there was a lot of banters, a lot of bravado. And at this stage, I think I'd kind of grown up a little bit in terms of my footballing career. Being at Crawley at the time, it was, listen, you're here to train, you're here to be serious. I'd learned to train the hard way under Brendan Rodgers because there's no days off. And then when I got to Aldershot, I remember sort of on a Friday morning, we used to have like a players versus staff match on a Friday morning. And you think to yourself, we're trying to win games here in a good league. Should we really be doing this on a Friday? And some people it might be for them, but it wasn't for me. I kind of got messed around a little bit, if I'm brutally honest as well. When I left Crawley, I'd agreed a pre-contract with Aldershot to go back to the club with Dean and I can't remember his name, Richard Lowe, is it? I don't know if he was involved. And I got stitched up. I got stitched up massively. So I went into train one day, and then I was meant to sign later on that day. And I got told by Dean Holdsworth, they said, "Oh, sorry, we've worked out the finances, and there's no wage here for you." And I thought, well, I've just left Crawley. I've signed the sort of leaving documents. I've agreed to pay up with them in the hope that I was signing here. And then he basically just stitched me right up. So I ended up being sort of clubless for the next 6 weeks. And that's when I signed for Oxford United. So, yeah, it's a bit of taste in my mouth, I guess, but nothing to do with the club or the fans or anything like that. It was purely just the management at the time that I'm always a firm believer, treat people with respect and politeness and whatnot. And I didn't get that time. And I think that's where, when I said earlier, I'd love to have gone back back to play for the club. I would love to have done that properly and given it another shot, but he kind of ruined it, I guess.
I never knew that, Scott. That's extremely disappointing to learn of that, really, because I'm a great advocate. You look after people that have looked after the club when they've been a part of it, which you certainly did before that, and you look after people anyway. It's an easy fact in life. It's so simple, and it often goes by the wayside. And I hate it when I hear about the football club, people that have served it so well getting treated badly, because it's just so avoidable.
Yeah. So what it was I had 6 months left on my contract at Crawley, and I said to Crawley, I said, listen, I'm not leaving until I get a certain sum of money because you owe me X amount. And they said, right, if you have a club lined up, you can sign the documents and go and sign for the club tomorrow. So I got a phone call from the chief exec at Aldershot, I think it was Richard Lowe at the time. And he said, listen, yeah, we've sorted out with the Crawley chairman. You signed the deal at their end. You're free to go and you come and sign this end. So I was like, okay, fine. So I said, definitely want to do this. So I did it. I signed documents. Little did I know, the chairman and the chief exec at either club, they were friends. So what I got told is that basically you tell Scott that we'll sign him. He'll sign the paperwork here to leave today. He'll come to you and you can just say, listen, the deal's off. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why I learned the hard way, because I trusted two people that were speaking behind my back. And I went down to train for 2 days. And then I got told, no, it's a no-go. So I was really disappointed. I was gutted because I was desperate to go back. It would have been an 18-month contract. And it just never happened. So I trained for 2 days, ended up going to Portsmouth for a couple of days, went to Stevenage for a month, went to sign there, and a player got injured, so they had to bring a centre-half in instead. So I was going around the clubs, and then reluctantly I signed for Oxford United in the end on literally peanuts, on £200 a game, because they didn't have any money, and ended up spending the next 18 months there on a better contract in the second year. So yeah, that's something I wouldn't ever publicise it, but it was just really disappointing, because I felt like I'd been completely done over. But it wasn't anything to do with the people at the club that were there the first time. So there's no hard done bys or anything like that.
So when did Scott Davies decide that professional football was your professional career was coming to an end, and you've played, you've had a number of clubs in non-league, and I think you got promotion at Slough, and you've had some good times in when I say non-league, I say sort of part-time, when you're a part-time professional, and obviously you've got other things outside of that. When did that decision come, and when did you know it was the right time?
I've got a question for you, Graham. Who was my last manager in professional football?
In professional football?
Yeah. Was
that at Oxford?
At Oxford.
Oxford, blimey. So if Chris Wilder would have gone, I have no clue. No clue.
Gary Waddock.
Of course.
Right. So I sat down with Gary at the end of the season. We played Plymouth away in the last game of the season, and my dad travelled down to Plymouth. He'd just gone past Exeter, and I said to my dad, yeah, I'm starting. So my dad travelled down there in the morning. He'd just gone past Exeter, and I rang him and I said, Dad, I said, change of plan. I said, I just spoke to Gary. I'm not playing. And he said, right. He said, why aren't you playing? Gary's words to me were, listen, I know all about you. Don't worry about it. He said, I need to look at some other players for next season for contracts. So I was like, okay, fine. So I didn't think much of it. And then I went and sat down with Gary maybe a week after the season at Oxford United in the big offices and that down there. And I sat there and I walked into the room, and he said, Scotty, he said, this is the hardest conversation I've ever had to have with a player. And I started laughing. I was just like, yeah, don't be stupid. And he went, no, honestly, he said, I can't give you another contract. And that for me just spoke volumes, because this guy who I adored as a manager and as a friend, and I think he felt the same about me. He knew that sort of I would go out there and do my best for him. He just said to me, listen, he said, I've got to bring in a striker. He said, I've not got money to give to you on a contract. He said, I've already got 2 centre midfielders here next year that have got another year left on their deals. He said, and I can't afford to keep you. So he was actually the man that signed me the most and then released me. So he ruined my professional career at the same time as starting it. So it's quite a weird one how it all came round. And I remember chatting to my parents, and my parents were like, how can he do that to you? And how can he do this? And I can't believe he's done that. And listen, it is what it is. I understand football. But after that, I didn't find another professional club. I was completely and utterly obliterated by gambling at this point. I didn't really know if I wanted to stay in it. I probably would have stayed in it with Gary and Oxford United because it was half an hour from home. But yeah, it swings and roundabouts. But for him to release me, I look back now and I just have to laugh about it. So yeah, it's a strange one. So everyone was going back to pre-season training sort of 6 weeks later. I was sat in Nando's and my phone went, and I picked up the phone and the guy on the phone said, hello, it's Tony Fontanelle from Dunstable Town Football Club. And I thought, why the bloody hell are you ringing me? I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to go and sign for Dunstable Town. And he said, I can give you £450 a week to come and sign for us. And I signed there for 3 or 4 months. Absolutely loved training with the boys because it was a good set of lads. Hated playing in matches in front of sort of 50 to 100 people. And I just thought to myself, do you know what? This has become a real chore. So I played a season in non-league, and things had really got to me at this point. So that's when I ended up in rehab at the end of the first season, because I couldn't quite get to grips with what had happened in my life. My professional career, my dream was over, and I needed to go and visit someone just to help me out mentally because I was in a bad way. I can't promise myself or anyone else that I won't ever bet again, but I hope that I won't. I'm 99% sure that I won't because I know that it took me to some dark places. The joys of gambling back in the day for me were short-lived. Yeah, that night in Torquay, it was the best night of my footballing life, or best night of my life. And it's like you say, it just makes me feel better. So I could be sat here watching daytime TV and someone pops up with a message like that, and you know, it puts a smile on my face.